Hello, I'm Tara Barnhart.
And I'm Sera Shimakura. We'd like to share the results of a 2-year study we conducted with teachers as they attempted to enact instruction informed by their personal theories about teaching and learning through their first year of service in California.
To provide a roadmap for where we are heading today, first we will share the conceptual and theoretical underpinnings of our study design, describe our research context, the intervention design, and our research questions. Then we'll describe our analytic approach and findings with illustrative examples. Finally, we'll share what we think are the implications of this work. This study is informed by previous research that tells us that pre-service teachers enter credential programs with ideas about teaching and learning based on previous experiences. These experiences serve as powerful lenses through which they view how teaching and learning occur. However, during teacher credential programs, pre-service teachers are introduced to novel ways to conceive of teaching and learning. There is evidence that PSTs can and do take up these novel conceptions to make sense of classroom interactions while in their teacher ed program. However, the beliefs and practices PSTs encounter during their clinical placement and their first years of teaching tend to reintroduce more traditional conceptions of teaching. The result is that graduates of progressive teacher credential programs often revert to traditional teaching methods during their first year of service. Some research indicates that maintaining contact with a community of teachers who share core beliefs in progressive education can insulate them from the washout effects experienced by teachers who are isolated from like-minded colleagues. That concept is what we take up in the design of our intervention, a critical friends group for early service teachers. The design of our critical friends group is informed by 4 frameworks: Wenger's community of practice theory, Curry's critical friends groups, Tripp's critical incident analysis, and Levin et al.'s personal practice theory development. Members of a community of practice share a common interest to learn and improve by collaboratively engaging with tools and tasks. It is through their interactions that they generate new collective knowledge and skills, as well as develop a sense of identity and belonging. Relatedly, Critical Friends Group is a particular type of community of practice that centers the classroom as a location of professional learning. The community of practice of interest in this study is a group of participating teachers who met during their first year of practice in a Critical Friends Group to talk through critical incidents, moments of classroom interactions that these teachers chose to interrogate further in order to gain greater self-awareness of how they make instructional and relational decisions. We theorize that identifying these moments and talking through how they reacted in the moment would inform their PPTs and build confidence in them as touchstones for guiding future decisions. Our research questions are to determine if and how PSTs utilize their PPTs during their first year of service to identify and resolve conflicts they encountered during teaching and resist normalizing counterprogressive influences during teaching. This study follows a group of students enrolled in a credential program into the completion of their first year of service. During their credential program, participants defined personal statements of belief about teaching and learning, personal practical theories, and what these beliefs look like in practice. They developed a rubric that they used to self-assess their enactment of their PPTs using artifacts from their practice in the fall and spring. Then they developed an action plan to address growth areas relative to their PPTs during their first year of teaching service. 6 program graduates participated in a Critical Friends group meeting every 6 weeks during their first year of service to discuss progress on their action plans and engage in critical incident analysis. They also participated in an interview at the start and end of their first year of service to capture what their current thinking was about their PPTs, what was exciting, helpful, and frustrating for them. 3 additional program grads also consented to pre- and post-interviews, though they did not participate in the Critical Friends group during their first year. To answer our research question, we analyzed the participants' PPTs, pre- and post-program and at the end of their first year of service, pre- and post-interviews, written journal entries they made during their first year, and the first author's notes and memos from each Critical Friends meeting. To address research question 1, we then turn to the pre- and post-year 1 interview data. and participants' critical incident journals to identify instances in which teachers expressed challenges or conflicts with respect to their PPTs. We noted these challenges in analytic memos and turned to the literature to understand and characterize them. We found that Edwards and Richards' framework on relational teaching seemed to capture what we were seeing in the data. We then independently coded one participant's data using their framework and found that it worked well with some adjustments that I will discuss on the next slide. We then independently coded the data corpus with the modified Edwards and Richards framework and met to resolve any coding discrepancies. To address research question 2, we open-coded teachers' PPTs from 3 time points: the start of the credential program, the end of the credential program, and the end of their first year of teaching. We independently noted changes in analytic memos and collaboratively identified themes and the types of changes in their PPTs. The Edwards and Richards Relational Teaching Framework describes 3 aspects of professional work in clinical professions like teaching, therapy, and medicine. The first is mutual engagement. This is the degree of connectedness felt between the teacher and the student. When present, the connection encourages learning. We realized when applying this code to our data, there were 3 types of mutual engagement: that between the teacher and their students, the teacher and their mentor or administrator, and the teacher and their peers. We also noted instances in which this feeling was either felt as present or absent from the teacher's point of view. Another aspect identified by Edwards and Richards is mutual empathy, or the capacity in which the teacher can understand the thoughts and feelings of their students. Again, we noted that this could extend to how understood the teacher felt by their mentor as well as their peers. This could also be present or absent. The third component of the relational teaching framework is mutual empowerment, which Edwards and Richards describe as the degree to which teachers model vulnerability with their students. That leads to increased energy, and that leads to increased action and knowledge. This in turn leads to increased feelings of self-worth and the desire for more connection. We noted that the source of this empowerment could be from the relationship between the teacher and their students, the teacher and their mentor, or the teacher and their peers. Our main findings are that our teachers' PPTs did not change much during their first year of service, though they did express changes in how they might enact them. The successes they identified tended to occur in the student engagement and empathy categories. However, teachers also expressed the most challenges in enacting PPTs related to engagement, empathy, and empowerment. To work through their perceived challenges, they identified engagement with peers, empathy with and from peers, and feelings of empowerment when interacting with peers as key supports. Some of our teachers relied on engagement and empathy with mentors at their sites to feel empowered, but these connections were definitely lacking among some teacher-mentor pairs in our study. Sera will now offer some illustrative examples of these findings.
To start off, this teacher named Maddie who's a math teacher at a private school, says that when students aren't getting it, she thinks, okay, what's another way I can explain this? And so we categorize this quote as mutual engagement, empathy, and empowerment. There's mutual engagement because both the teacher and students are invested in understanding together. She's not just delivering the content, she's adjusting and learning alongside the student. Empathy comes through in how she recognizes when students are struggling and responds with care instead of frustration. She's putting herself in their shoe and meeting them where they are. And finally, there's empowerment. She views a challenge as something positive for her own growth as a teacher. That mindset strengthens both her confidence and the student's learning. Next example shows a quiet student who thanks the teacher for grading assignments, saying she really needed those grades in. Ella, the substitute, replies, I'd want them graded too. This moment reflects mutual empathy because the student shows appreciation for something that directly impacts her learning, and the teacher responds with understanding, validating that need. Empathy is happening on both sides. The student recognizes the teacher's effort, and the student relates to the student's perspective. It also shows mutual engagement because both are communicating openly about what matters in the learning process. That simple exchange becomes a moment of connection and shared understanding between the two. In this example, Naomi is an ELA teacher at a public school, and she wrote each of her students a personalized letter during the last week of school. At first, the students laughed, but once they received them, they were surprised, realizing she had written each one individually. This moment shows mutual engagement as Naomi invests deeply in connecting with her students. They, in return, engage emotionally with her effort. There's a strong mutual empathy as well. Naomi understands what it feels like to be unseen, and she shared that some of her own teachers didn't even learn her name when she was a child. So she makes sure her students feel recognized and valued. And finally, there's a mutual empowerment. Through this act, both Naomi and her students feel a sense of connection, validation, and growth. It transforms a simple gesture into a powerful moment of shared humanity in the classroom. While mutual empathy can create powerful and meaningful relationships between teachers and students, it can also come with challenges when that empathy becomes emotionally demanding. Naomi reflected on this, saying, "I was tired, it was very tiring, I need a recovery period for sure. But at the end, I still want to teach because I love those relationships I built with the kids." This moment highlights the difficulty of sustaining mutual empathy and empowerment. Naomi's deep emotional investment in her students, her constant effort to connect, respond to their needs, and design engaging instruction leads to a sense of exhaustion and burnout. Yet even though the fatigue, she still expressed pride in her work and a strong desire to continue teaching. This shows how mutual empathy, while deeply rewarding, also requires emotional balance and boundaries to sustain both the teachers' and students' growth. Peers and mentors served as influential forces that supported teachers through their challenges of enactment. While mutual empathy with students sometimes led to emotional exhaustions, peers and mentors served as influential forces that supported teachers through these challenges. One teacher described how her mentor, who had been at the school for years, was always nearby, someone she could pop in at lunch and ask for ideas or support. This shows mutual engagement as both teachers and mentors collaborate and share insights in real time. It also reflects mutual empowerment because that relationship helps the teacher feel more confident and capable in her practice. Another teacher shared that she went to her principal after a challenging month and asked for strategies to manage her class. That proactive step demonstrates mutual engagement. Mutual empowerment is also shown as the principal's guidance helped foster and give the teacher tools to grow and feel more effective in her role. These examples highlight how supportive professional relationships play a crucial role in helping teachers navigate the challenges of teaching. While many teachers benefited from strong mentor and peer relationships, others experienced the opposite, a lack of perceived support, which made it difficult to sustain mutual engagement and empowerment. One teacher shared, "Nothing seems to be working. When I'm told to call admin, I call all the time but no one's available." Here, the absence of support leaves a teacher feeling powerless and isolated. Without the necessary resources or backup, mutual empowerment breaks down. The teacher wants to address the challenges effectively but lacks the means to do so. Another teacher expressed, "I want to collaborate with others and work together, but I'm the only 7th grade ELA teacher, and they gave me a curriculum I've never seen before." This illustrates a lack of mutual engagement since there's no one to plan or problem solve with, and a lack of empowerment as she's expected to teach new material without guidance. Together, these examples show how insufficient mentorship and collaboration can hinder teachers' growth, leaving them to navigate complex challenges alone. In addition to mentors, peers also plays an essential role in supporting teachers through the challenges. While mentors offered guidance and experience, peers provided a sense of shared understanding and emotional balance. One teacher described a feeling of lightheartedness with his colleagues, knowing that after a long day, we're all going to be home and still be fine. This captures mutual empowerment as that sense of community helps him stay grounded and resilient. Similarly, another teacher shared how having a colleague who faced very similar problems and outlooks was extremely helpful. This peer connection fosters mutual engagement through shared reflection and mutual empowerment by reminding teachers that they're not alone in their struggles. These examples demonstrate the mutual engagement and mutual empowerment between peers. In addition to mutual engagement and empowerment in the previous slides, these peer relationships also fostered mutual empathy, where teachers not only collaborated professionally but also connected emotionally through shared challenges and understanding. One teacher reflected that she thought her peer Remy was going to have the easiest time, but hearing that he was also struggling was really nice. Another said, "Okay, we're all dealing with something and it's not just me." These moments show how empathy emerges through shared vulnerability. Realizing that others face similar challenges brings comfort and validation. Another teacher described, "We were just in a community with each other, like I see you, you see me, we're figuring this out." That simple recognition captures mutual empathy as well, since they're understanding, acknowledging, and supporting each other's experiences. All three of these examples show how first-year teachers find strength through empathy, building community through shared challenges. This chart summarizes each participant's experiences with their peers, mentors, and students. We see that teachers largely felt connected to their peer and students. Those who lacked supportive relationship with mentors were more likely to leave their profession or the school. Even when peer support was strong, ineffective mentorship often led to burnout and departure. In contrast, teachers with engaged mentors, like Maddie, Gia, and Leanne, remained in teaching and maintained meaningful student connections. Though this is a very small sample of teachers, their stories affirm the importance of experienced teachers continued their transition into the profession. Additionally, our teachers did not indicate that they felt that their mentors attempted to change their core beliefs about teaching and learning. Rather, they helped them seek balance between their ideals and their practical realities of contemporary classrooms.
This work has relevance for teacher educators in both pre-service and early service contexts. It highlights how PSTs attempt to manifest progressive ideals from teacher preparation programs, student-centeredness, cultural responsiveness, and an inquiry mindset, into their teaching practice. It also identifies when and where those progressive principles come into conflict with normalizing influences, how early service teachers attempted to resolve those conflicts, what supports were helpful to them, and the potential consequences if conflicts remain unresolved. What is noteworthy is that these teacher-identified challenges with relationships rather than with more technical challenges of pedagogical enactment. This seems to indicate that the program provided adequate support in enacting the technical aspects of teaching, but teachers needed more robust and ongoing support with the relational aspects of teaching. We see this work as connected to Conference Strand 3 by fostering teacher development and growth. By articulating clear values about what it means to teach and learn, teachers can better determine what new practices and approaches to adopt during their career and which they should resist. By providing a clearly stated personal professional vision, teachers can then be more confident in their advocacy for themselves as individual teachers, their students, and their profession. Thank you.